Most people don't know this, but the reason you pay for A/B testing, it isn't that testing is something complex. It is because the architecture that everyone has been using for the past decade is wrong. And once you see the correct architecture, you will immediately understand that A/B testing should be free and you should have never paid for split testing in the first place. I'm Andrea, I'm the founder of Confidence Story and creator of GTMsplit, which is the first open code split testing tool that runs entirely inside Google Tag Manager for free. So have you ever wondered what exactly you pay for when you pay for a split testing tool? Like what is the tool actually doing to justify a monthly subscription? And the truth is that most people never ask this question. And when you never question the architecture, the costs feel normal, even when they're not. I also never wondered what running a split test really takes. That is because we were using Google Optimize and it was free, it worked well, so we didn't really need to ask this question. But then Google Optimize went away and a client of mine came to me and they had to face a decision. They had over 2 million monthly visitors on their site. And looking around the split testing tools available on the market, well, they either had to pay $5,000 per month or stop split testing. So think about that, $5,000 a month for what? Splitting the traffic and logging conversions that our analytics platform was already logging. And this to me felt really, really wrong. And that's when I realized that the problem wasn't the price. It was the architecture these tools were based on. So I said to my clients, okay, give me 2 weeks. And for the next 2 weeks, I lived inside Google Tag Manager. And I built a split testing engine that does 90% of what the other platforms, paid platforms, did. And it was completely free. And it worked beautifully because in the next 2 years, this little tool I built ended up saving over $100,000 to this particular client and a lot more to all my clients combined. And more importantly, it proved one thing. You don't need to pay for A/B testing. You just need the right architecture. And the right architecture allows no plugins, no SDK, no external scripts, no servers, no latency, and no visitor limits. And yes, everything can run inside Google Tag Manager. Let me explain how it works. All the commercial split testing tools use the same architecture. That architecture creates costs that actually don't need to exist. So here is the workflow that each of these tools uses. They assign the user to a variant, they render the experience, they track the events, they store the data, and then they show you a dashboard. That's it. And if you look at it, 4 of these 5 steps are free. The only step here that justifies a monthly subscription is storing the data. That's the bottleneck. That's the cost center. That's the entire reason the subscription model exists. And here's the twist. You don't need to store data because you already have your analytics platform. You may be using GA4, which is not a good choice for an experimentation program, but many people use it. You may use Postog, Mixpanel, Amplitude, whatever it is. You have an analytics platform you're using already, so it makes no sense whatsoever to pay to have another vendor storing your data for money. And once you remove that step, the entire business model collapses. Okay, let's think this through. If your analytics platform is already collecting all the conversions and exposure to variants, if Google Tag Manager is already installed on your site, and JavaScript can render variations from Tag Manager. Then why do we need a server-based solution to run split testing? We don't. Why should we pay for double storage, double login, double infrastructure when our site already has everything we need? And once you see it, really, you cannot unsee it, that the old architecture forces the vendors to charge. It's not that they're evil, they do have cost of storage, and then they apply a huge margin on that. That's another story, but they have a cost. With the new architecture, which is based on Tag Manager, well, there is no server, so there is no cost whatsoever. And at this point, I already hear three major objections. Andrea, but how do I edit the variants? The platform gives me a nice visual editor I can use to tweak my variation, and then I get the changes. Well, but you already have a visual editor. It's the editor of your website, and you know how to use it. So why do you need another one? You really don't. This editor they give you, it's clunky, it's JavaScript based, and it tries to replicate what your editor does. And the results are often very, very bad. Like these variations you are given, they are clunky. And you can build much faster variations if you just duplicate the page you want to edit and edit it in your editor. Then you have two versions. You have the control and the variation. Save as HTML, and then you compare them. You let AI compare them, and you get the variation in JavaScript, which answers to the second objection, which is, I don't know how to write JavaScript, so this little tool of yours is not for me. Wrong. Because AI does this, you don't have to do it. So you give HTML control to the AI, you give HTML of the variation to the AI, and you ask, please give me the JavaScript that turns the control into the variation. Poof, done. And I have a process for this, which I'm going to give you, so you don't have to pay for split testing anymore. And the last objection I hear very often is, yeah, okay, but these split testing platforms allow me to create experiments and to manage them, so I don't have to edit anything in Tag Manager. Okay, what if there was a simple UI where you could do the same? That you can create your experiments and edit them and then just import them in Tag Manager. Wouldn't that be okay? And we have that. So if we don't have to pay for data storage because we already have our analytics platform, if we don't need a visual editor because we already have the editor of our site, if we can easily generate JavaScript variation with AI, and if we add access to a free user interface from where we can create experiments, so why do we need to pay for split testing? Think about that. There is really no reason. To tell you the truth, this little tool I built is something that I was keeping as a secret because it gave me an edge over all other consultants. Picture it, a client is paying over $1,000 per month in software fees to run a split testing program. And I could erase that fee. No one could do that. It gave me a huge competitive advantage. But then I thought, if this architecture can free one client, why shouldn't it free everyone? I mean, can you imagine how much money we can collectively save if we remove the subscription fees from split testing? Can you imagine the pace of experimentation if people don't have to pay for it? So why shouldn't every company from solo founders to global brands be able to run experiments directly inside Google Tag Manager, keep their data, and never pay per visitor again? Why should experimentation be locked behind paywalls when the tools we have already do the heavy lifting? And that's when it clicked. This shouldn't be a private solution. This should be the standard. And so I refactored the code and I created GTMsplit, which as today is the first and only open code split testing tool that runs entirely in Google Tag Manager for free. And I didn't stop there. To make sure that everyone can use it, even people who are not familiar with Tag Manager and coding, I built the GTMsplit UI, which allows you to create and manage your experiment exactly like you would on the split testing platform of your vendor. And it's all free. No fees, no limits, no permissions required. GTMsplit exists to give experimentation back to the people who test. So if you've ever felt that A/B testing tools were charging you for something that didn't make sense, if you've ever wondered why simple experiments come with enterprise price tags, then now you know. The problem was and is a bad architecture. And once you fix the architecture, testing becomes free and honestly, way faster. Because as I'm shooting this video in December 2025, GTMsplit is the fastest split testing tool ever built. So you are still here, you are obviously interested. I invite you to download GTMsplit and give it a try. It's free, you have nothing to lose. It handles on-page experiments, redirect experiments, and it is way faster than any other tool you can use. And I would say that if your company runs a serious experimentation program, GTMsplit should be your favorite tool. Well, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.